have this vivid memory of sitting in the bathtub one time and just crying.
I think I punched my dad once.
You're not in charge of me right now. Like, you just won't leave me alone.
I had an epidural in my back, so I couldn't move very well.
She just wanted me to keep pushing and keep going.
Everybody had one. Like, if you didn't have one, you were looked down upon.
This is a show where teenagers share their experiences growing up in today's world. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective. Hello, and welcome to A Teen's Perspective. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and today I have a 15-year-old high schooler, and he's going to share his experience growing up in this COVID pandemic world. So first, we need to come up with a name for him. He is a minor. If you were a superhero, what name would you want?
The Big Boom Blaster? I don't know.
I like it. The Big Boom Blaster. I like it. All right, so let's welcome Big Boom Blaster to the show. All right. So, Big Boom Blaster, go ahead and talk to us about your background. So share with us some information so we can kind of get to know you and where you come from, and just share your family dynamic.
Well, I moved here from out of the continent overseas, and then it was just me and my mom for a long time. And then a couple years ago, she met my stepdad. After a little bit, they got married. We moved to a different state. Now I have two younger sisters, and we are living together.
Cool, man. So you lived in a different country?
Nah, just a different state now.
Oh, okay. So you live in a different state, and you say that it was just you and your mom for a while. So basically as early as you can remember?
Yeah. I mean, it was just me, my mom, and her sisters, and my grandmother.
How long has your stepdad and his family been in the picture?
Maybe about 4 years now.
So how was it growing up without your biological dad in the picture?
I mean, couldn't really do a lot of things like father-son campouts or father-son whitewater rafting, or like I would just make a Valentine's Day card to my mom and my friends and nobody else.
Do you remember how hard that was on you growing up?
My mom, I have a lot of respect for her because she wasn't just my mom growing up with that. It was kind of like she was the mom and the dad. I think that's why I'm so kind to other people's, because I've been raised by a lot of women, but like the dad version of women in a way.
No, it makes perfect sense. So that's awesome, man, that, your mom kind of took that role on, and she did a great job raising you. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Now, share with me your initial reaction once your stepdad kind of started in the picture.
To be honest, I was very excited. At first, I was like, who is this man? What's he doing here? Why is he touching my mother? Why is he calling her babe? Who are you? And he almost made me go to pull out the Nerf gun that was underneath my bed and just shoot him while he was asleep. At first, I was all defensive, and then I realized he's actually a pretty cool guy.
That's awesome, man. Did your mom kind of have that conversation with you when she wanted to make the decision to marry him? Or did he come to you first and say, I want to marry your mom? How did that happen?
In my family, we don't have talks. We don't even have a birds and the bees talk. It's just kind of, you go with the flow in a way, like, oh, this is happening. And then they sat down with me, both of them. They're like, hey, what you think about us living together? And I was young at that time, and I was really looking for a father. So I was like, heck yeah, I would love to.
How did you get along with his children?
He didn't have any kids at that time. I mean, now I have two younger sisters that are his.
Oh, okay. So you have two younger sisters.
Yeah.
So how was that, having siblings? How was that for the first time?
I've always wanted a sibling, like a younger brother or an older brother, or just somebody to hang out with, because it was just me. And when my mom would go to work, it would just be me. Now that I have two younger sisters, I gotta say sometimes they might be a pain, but I love them like they were my own,
That's awesome. Now, in middle school, most people believe that middle school is the hardest experience for a tween or teen. So my question is, how was middle school for you when it was just basically there was no dad in the picture?
He was there for middle school, but elementary, he wasn't there.
Oh, so your stepdad, he joined the family in middle school.
Yeah, like we moved here and I started 6th grade.
So how was 6th grade in general? Was it pretty easy or did you have some struggles?
Oh, I had some struggles. I mean, at first, it wasn't very hard to get friends because I have an open personality, but I gotta say, I think the anger of me moving away from all my friends and family and moving here where I know nobody took a toll on me. I got suspended for about a month and a half, and then I've just been getting in trouble. But at 7th and 8th grade, I've been mellowed out and stuff. I would go to the office every now and then, but it wouldn't be too dramatic.
Tell me, what happened in 6th grade where you were expended for a month and a half?
So my friend Ryan, he had a knife or something, like a switchblade. And then he said that he would give it to me, but then he wasn't at the bus stop, so we had to meet at school. He gave it to me at school, and then that morning, my mom, my dad, they got into a little bit of an argument, and then I was kind of super protective of my mom, and then this kid wanted to decide to run his mouth about my mom, and I love her too much. So I told him pull up then, and then he was too scared to fight, and then I accidentally pulled the knife on him. So
wow, what an experience.
Yeah, I almost got expelled. If I didn't have a good principal and a good dean, I probably would have been expelled.
So it sounds like, it was already a bad morning because your parents got in an argument and you were a little concerned, and then you went to school, and then some other kid was kind of talking about your mom, and it makes sense why you would be overprotective of your mom. And then you guys, somehow you pulled a knife on him.
Yeah.
But you didn't stab him or anything, right?
Nah, I didn't slice him or anything.
All right, so that's good. That's good. So basically, you were out of school for a month, and then after that, things started to get better.
Yeah, we started getting a new dynamic and everything.
All right, so you're in 10th grade now, right?
Yes, sir.
So share with us about the transition from middle school to high school.
It wasn't too difficult, but at the same time, I lost a lot of friends that went to a different school. But most of my really, really good friends went to the same school that I'm going to now. And I was just able to find some new people and hang out with them as well.
Oh, cool. So it was an easy transition for you.
Yeah.
And then what are you looking forward to most for this year in 10th grade?
Well, to get my 4.5 GPA and make my mom proud.
Awesome. Now, share with us how COVID and this pandemic has changed your life for this time period.
Well, I have to stay home, and I really like socializing with people. Like, I won't be able to see my friends on the first day or anything like that. I won't be able to meet my teachers one-on-one to see what they're like. I won't be able to do like the normal socializing stuff,
Whenever COVID first happened and you guys ended school, what was your initial reaction?
At first, I was like, oh, bae, I gotta stay home. I gotta sleep in. I gotta do all this and this and that. I gotta game instead of being in a class or something like that. And then nothing like that happened. I had to wake up super early just to get on one of my classes. Man, I couldn't go undisturbed for like 10 minutes. But it was a pretty fluent class where I was able to do my own stuff on my own pace.
So tell me about how has it been through the summer? It's the pandemic, social isolation. So how are you able to stay productive and have fun this summer?
In the beginning of the summer, I really couldn't do anything with anybody. I couldn't even go on a plane or anything like that. So I had to drive all the way to my grandma in Washington. And then I just kind of started trying to hang out with people, doing Zoom calls, playing iMessage games and FaceTiming. And then once COVID started kind of like in my area, started kind of die down a little bit, I would go on my skateboard and go on trails and stuff like that.
Well, another thing I want to know your opinion on is, what is your overall opinion on COVID-19? How do you feel like your parents are handling it? How do you feel like you're handling it and all that?
At first, I was going to lose my mind with not being able to see anybody and staying home with mom and all that. I mean, a pandemic really does bring a lot of people together, or it rips them apart, You can either see the really good stuff in a person or just see the horrible person that they might be, you know?
So it sounds like you guys are growing closer during this time.
Yeah, kind of like a check in reality in a way.
Hello, this is Dr. RJ. I hope you are enjoying the show. I just want to encourage you to hang around after the interview. I will be coaching my guest on whichever topic they choose. Life coaching has been proven to increase success and happiness in teenagers. So if you're interested in having a life coach for your teenager, register at www.lifescholarsacademy.com. And how are you feeling about wearing masks all throughout this year?
I'm a little iffy about that because, I got like this felt mask and I feel like I'm breathing in my own skin and I can't run or anything like that. I mean, I can sort of run and do workouts and stuff like that, but I have to use like a KN95 mask, like those big white ones that go all around. But it just hurts my ears, to be honest. Like, I might have to buy cream.
What is the concern with your mom and your dad? Are they like overly concerned about it, or they're just not really worried about it?
My mom is pretty concerned about it. Like, the moment we walk in, we have to wash our hands and just like the normal stuff. And then if we go upstairs without washing our hands, we have to go upstairs, rewash our hands. So she's super strict about us being clean and stuff like that, and asking us about how many people we've interacted with and all that.
I started this podcast so parents can understand teenagers. So what can you share with parents as it relates to this pandemic and social isolation so they can understand what teenagers are going through?
Kind of like be easy with them, to be cautious with them, because with me, my mom, one day we would be nice and everything, and the next day I won't feel like talking to anybody. I might snap at my sisters or something like that. So it's kind of like a weird Bermuda Triangle area, Like if we accidentally drop a glass or something and it shatters, don't scream at us or punish us or whatever, because you just taking us away our phone isn't really helping us. Nobody's getting a lot of help from that, because we need the socialization with each other to see how everyone's going, and because we have that sort of teenager community in a way, you could say.
Yeah, you actually bring up a good point. I'm coaching teenagers, and oftentimes I hear that they get in trouble and the parents take away their phone, but it's like the phone is the only lifeline that a teenager has, especially during the pandemic. So, I'm glad you brought that up, because that can be very tough for teenagers if, they're already isolated from their friends, but then you remove the phone, then it's like, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, can you share with us one more thing that you think will help parents better to understand a teenager?
You were teenagers too once, in a way, kind of thing. Like when you were a kid, don't apply what's going on socially or anything like that. Just think about what you were going through. We're going through the same thing, and think about the things that your parents did to you that you didn't like, and see what you're doing to us, and see where you could fix where we might be feeling bad because of something, or we just feel horrible, or, how to make my mom see from my perspective and thinking.
So it sounds like you want to have coaching so that your mom could start to see things from your perspective.
Yeah.
Well, first, she should listen to a Teen's Perspective podcast. So I think that's one way. But first, share with me what perspective you want your mom to know.
The way that we think, like what I say may sound something different to you, and what you say may sound completely different to me.
Yeah. And why is that important for your mom to know that?
Well, we don't have that miscommunication, because communication is everything in a relationship.
Can you give us a recent example of a miscommunication between you two?
We went to Costco the other day to get my school supplies, and I had these pencils that seemed really cool, and I asked her if I could get it. She didn't really give me an answer, so I put them in. And then when we got to the cash register, she took them out, and I'm like, oh, man. And then I tried to joke as if I was super, super bummed about it. And then she thought I was being just super ungrateful about the stuff that I had.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like you were kind of joking about it, but then she took it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're hoping that in the future that she can understand things from your perspective and you can kind of see it from her perspective.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So what do you think is the way to get your mom to see things from your perspective?
Talk to each other and see what she thought happened there and what I thought happened there.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, I mean, you said that communication is most important in relationships. And you're absolutely right. And the thing about perspectives is that you can't read the other person's mind. So like if your mom could like read your mind, she would have known that you were joking. And if you could read your mom's mind, then you would have known that at that point it's not the right time to joke. But the problem is we can't read each other's mind. So the only way to share our perspectives is to communicate, talk about it. So you're absolutely right. Let's say, for instance, you talk about this one instance and you tell your mom, well, you know, Mom, I was just joking. And she said, well, I didn't take it as a joke. What do you do if it happens again and it keeps happening?
Try to see what we have similar in those situations. Like if I'm trying to joke and what I said that caused her to take it seriously to stop it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, essentially try to figure out where was the disconnect on the joke. Maybe you guys discuss in detail about, hey, you know, like when is the appropriate time to joke? And this is how you could tell I'm joking. Just really have a deep down conversation about it. But, you know, what I want you to see too is that even if it's not about the joking, say there's other situations that she doesn't see the way you see it, what is something else that you could do that can help lead the relationship to grow in a better direction?
It might sound weird, but kind of like see her childhood and stuff like that, where she grew up, what like saying this may mean to her because of the area that she grew up in, certain things I can and cannot joke about.
There was something deep in what you just said, because I think the key is focusing on yourself and what you can do to change. Because in relationships, it's not going to always be equal. You know, if you guys have this conversation and you say, okay, Mom, I understand why that was not the right time to joke. But do you understand that I like to joke and I'm only doing it just to have fun? And say, for instance, she say yes. But then say you guys have a miscommunication the next day and then the next day and the next day. And you're starting to see like, okay, we're talking a lot. We're talking about the different miscommunications, but guess what? We're still having them. The only thing you can do at that point, honestly, is keep having the conversations, yes. But what can you do to change to help the relationship? That's the key. Because a relationship requires at least two people, but it only takes one person to influence the relationship. So as you guys are talking, as you guys are communicating, trying to understand one another, I would always ask myself, well, what can I do? What can I change that would make this relationship grow? And that would make it where my mom is not getting as upset as she used to get upset. That can limit the amount of miscommunications we have. So the question is always on the person, whoever that person is. You know, if I was talking to your mom, I would be saying the same thing to your mom, but I'm talking to you. So it's like, what can you do to change so that the relationship can grow? And if you keep with that mindset, the relationships will definitely grow.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So I'm just curious. I'm putting you on the spot here. What is one thing you can do to change to make the relationship grow?
Maybe just close my mouth and see what she has to say and then interpret it in my brain the way that she would try to interpret it.
I like it. So let's put that to action, try it out, and see how you're going to notice that this relationship is going to grow deeper and deeper. Well, I hope this interview will help in some way with the relationship between you and your team. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for all your support. Please review, rate, and subscribe, and share with a friend. Once again, I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective.